Hine clause plus imperative. This is the last use of hine that we're going to talk about here. And this is where hine introduces a clause that then is followed by an imperative. So we have hine, we have a clause, some words there, and then we have the imperative. Now there are other hine clauses. This is the one with the imperative is the one that Ross features, he talks about, on page 203. But there are also clauses where you have hine that introduces a clause followed by perfect plus vav consecutive, so these inverted perfects. Or you have hine with a clause followed by a disjunctive clause. Or you have vav plus hine followed by other things. You can look in Lambdin, page 169 to 170. He has a nice discussion of these. And Waltke O'Connor also have a fairly extended discussion, page 676 to 678. But Ross talks about this one, so I just want to let you know that there are other types of hine clauses that are out there. So, let's say a couple things about them. The first is the form. The form is hine, followed by a clause, or followed by some words with no vav, okay? No vav plus the imperative. And if I quote from Lambdin, on page 169, he says, where is it? The absence of the vav, he's talking about this vav here, the absence of the vav before the imperative marks this as a rather special construction. It's the absence of this that ties this thing together. So you have hine followed by something else leading directly into the imperative. And what happens is hine introduces a clause that is subordinate to the imperative. It is foundational. It's the foundation upon which this imperative then operates. Okay, we'll look at some examples and it'll make more sense. Traditionally, the translation would simply be behold. You just throw in behold. Everywhere you see hine, you throw in behold. And that's the problem, because hine means different things and can be used in different ways. To just translate it always the same way is to not really pay attention to what's going on. Instead, it would be better to indicate the subordination of this first clause, or the fact that this clause is a foundation to the imperative, by using words like since. Since something, then some imperative, go somewhere. Or put the subordinate clause here and follow it with so, or therefore. You have some condition, so go do something, or therefore go do something. So here, the preferred translation is some sort of word that subordinates the first clause. In the last two uses of hine that we looked at, existence and presentation, we had other words we wanted to use there, like now or here, something like that. So this is a use, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, this is a use of hine that does not express immediacy. That was something we saw with the other two. This one is quite different. This has to do with whole clauses. And what it does is it introduces a foundational clause, and then you have an imperative afterwards that follows from that clause. Okay, let's look at some examples. Here we have Genesis 16:6. Hine shifchatech beyadech asi la. Okay? Now the normal, or the original traditional way of translating this would be simply to drop behold, and whenever you see hine, just put in behold. Behold, your maidservant is in your hand, or in your charge. Do what you wish with her. Do with her what you wish. This is a verb you haven't seen, asa. It's a weak verb. We'll deal with these later, but it's hard to come up with examples that only use regular verbs, so you'll have to trust me that I'm giving you correct information here. But you can look it up, Genesis 16:6. So traditionally it would be, behold, your maidservant is in your charge, do with her, as you wish. A better way, perhaps, is to subordinate this first clause with since. Since your maidservant is in your charge, do with her. Okay? Since your maidservant is in your hand, do with her whatever. Or you could say, your maidservant is in your charge, so do with her. You put the connector at the end of the clause. Your maidservant is in your hand, so you don't translate this directly. You just indicate, or you deal with this by putting your so after the clause. Your maidservant is in your hand, so do with her. So it's a bit tricky. You have to kind of pay attention. But when you see hene from now on in a text, then take a look at it. Spend a little time and say, okay, what kind of hene is this? What is it really doing? Is it introducing a clause? Is it indicating existence? Is it indicating? Is it a pointing word indicating presentation of some sort, immediacy? Okay, let's look at another example. Hine ata zakanta ata sima lanu melech. This is 1 Samuel 8:5. So the traditional way again would just be to use behold here. Behold, you are old. You got a pronoun here, you, emphatic. Behold, you are old. Now set over us a king. And again, you haven't seen this type of verb. It's called a hollow verb, but we'll come to that later. So that's one way to do it. Just use behold. Or perhaps better, you could say, you are old. So just leave this, and then put your so here. You are old. In this case, we drop this, or we don't translate ata literally. You are old, so instead of now, set over us a king. So the reason they want them to set, the reason they are requesting the king is because he is old. This is the foundation for this imperative, set over us. Third example, Hine shamati ki yesh shever b'Mitzrayim redu shama. Okay, again, traditionally you just throw in behold here. Behold, I have heard that, and this is your particle of existence, there is or there are rations in Egypt. Go down there, and presumably buy some or something. Genesis 42:2. So behold, I have heard that there are rations in Egypt. Go down there. What I'm trying to feature here, again, this is all from Lambda. Lambda has a very nice discussion of all this. Good examples, at least I feel they are. And what this example is illustrating is sometimes you just drop this completely and connect your two clauses with something like a semicolon, because you do want the two clauses to be connected. The thing that really makes this construction stand out is the fact that there is no vav before here. It's not vav imperative. It just goes straight into the imperative. So you can do it in English or sometimes by connecting the two with a semicolon. Leave off the behold. I have heard that there are rations in Egypt. Go down there. This works in English. It indicates to the listener, to the reader, that this imperative, go down, is built on this earlier statement. I have heard that there are rations there. Go down. Or you could use so or therefore go down. Okay, I think that is it. So here we have a use. Let me go back here. Here we have a use of hine that is quite different from the other two. It's really more in the area of syntax. It introduces a clause that builds or that forms a foundation upon which an imperative then operates. And there is no vav here. Okay, that's an important part of this construction. And like I said, there are some other ones. You can go and take a look at Lambda and Walter O'Connor and see what some of these other possibilities are. So in summary, hine probably shouldn't be translated simply as behold. If you do that, then it's a bit wooden. There are a number of things that hine can do.